Hello everyone, Mike here, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back and watching my videos. I do videos on pop culture and etc, etc. Please subscribe, give this a thumbs up, comment, all that out of the way. Today, I actually want to talk about something a little bit different. It's something that I personally think is really cool and everyone needs to know about. And I'm sure all of you would have heard of the band Green Day, one of the most successful punk and just more generally rock bands of all time, particularly rising to prominence at two separate points in their career in the mid-90s with their breakthrough album Dookie, and then again after a declined popularity at the turn of the century in 2004, exploding with American Idiot. And over the years, Green Day have been a part of several different side projects and other bands and different little projects where they were a little bit more experimental with their sound and just did sort of different things. And examples of these side projects include the more traditional rock and roll sort of style band, the Foxborough Hot Tubs, who had a single album called Stop, Drop and Roll, which was really, really cool, as well as more recently Billie Joe Armstrong side project, The Long Shot, as well as a more folk rock sound with his project with Norah Jones, Foreverly, all of which is really cool. Billie Joe Armstrong is like a music writing legend and just someone who is constantly churning out new content that I personally think is really cool. I like to check out all of his stuff. I think he's an incredible songwriter, an incredible performer, and an incredible musician overall. So I think his output is really, really interesting. Even looking at 2020, Billie Joe Armstrong has not let COVID slow him down because he's actually been part of 3 albums this year alone. The Father of All Green Day album, which I did a review for, which I'll put a card up on the screen now, as well as a solo album project called No Fun Mondays, which is a great listen. Again, sort of a more traditional rock and roll and covers album that I think is really cool. As well as the next thing I want to talk about, The Network, which is the focus of this video. And I guess let's go back to the beginning with this so you guys can kind of have a context for the Green Day side project that you've probably never heard of. So just a bit of history here. Green Day put out an album called Warning in the year 2000, and it was one of the lowest selling Green Day albums since Dookie in 1994. A lot of people thought that this was sort of the decline of Green Day. Not that the album wasn't positively received, like it was critically well received, but at the same time, a lot of people thought that maybe the hype was over, and Green Day actually began working on a follow-up to Warning, which was going to be called Cigarettes and Valentines. Now, in a really weird twist of fate, that album was totally finished, I believe, and even mastered, but unfortunately, the masters of the tracks and basically all of the stems and everything involved with those tracks were stolen from the studio, and the band was pretty much forced to start from scratch and re-record all of these songs for Cigarettes and Valentines. However, instead of doing that, they decided to shelve Cigarettes and Valentines entirely and start work on something entirely new. Cigarettes and Valentines, to this day, is an unreleased album. It never saw the light of day. Many of the tracks have just never been released. Some of the tracks that were supposed to be on this album have been performed live, but other than that, a lot of these tracks are just never heard. The album never came to fruition and doesn't really exist. They ended up doing American Idiot, so Billie Joe Armstrong once described the stealing of the masters of Cigarettes and Valentines as a blessing in disguise because American Idiot pretty much skyrocketed Green Day into immense success in the 21st century and gave them incredible acclaim, amazing commercial success and popularity renewed around the world. They became one of the biggest bands in the world. But just before Green Day put out American Idiot in 2004, a year before that, in 2003, a mysterious new wave sort of almost 80s style synth-pop band that sounded essentially nothing like Green Day put out an album called Money Money 2020. That band was called The Network. And this is actually one of my favorite albums of all time. There are so many really cool songs on it. It's a really unique style. I don't think I've heard anything quite like similar to Money Money 2020. You should definitely go and listen to it. And over time, it became clear that the network were actually Green Day in disguise, something that the members of Green Day vehemently denied over and over again, but many, many clues suggested that the network was actually just Green Day, not the least of which was the fact that on many of the tracks of this song, you can clearly hear that it is Billie Joe Armstrong singing. There are some attempts for the members of the band, Billy and Mike Dirnt as well, who does some of the vocals on that record, to disguise their voices a bit, but if you listen to some of the tracks, particularly the song Spike, you'll definitely be able to see that it is very clearly Billie Joe Armstrong. And for whatever reason, almost as a joke, Green Day would kind of just deny the fact that they had anything to do with the network. They would pretend that they weren't involved with it at all, and it wasn't their project, and they were some weird band from like Sweden or something that were doing this weird new wave style music. Now, if the vocal similarities weren't enough, I do believe that all three members of Green Day, all three main members of Green Day, Billy, Mike, and Trey, are all credited as songwriters for the network song. So there really is no ambiguity that they aren't the network. It is very clear that they are the network. And they used secret identities and costumes and covered their faces and did some live gigs. It was a really weird kind of side project for them, and I still don't really know what influenced them to do that, because it is such a departure from their traditional rock sound. And I think having this new identities, a new band, a secret band, pretending that it wasn't them, sort of gave them the freedom to just do whatever they wanted. And again, this is such a unique record, really weird sounds, really weird singing performances, really strange themes of like looking into the future. Again, it was 2003 that they did this album. Looking to the future, robots, electronics, the internet, all these really weird themes come through on the album, and it's a really interesting listen. Shout out to songs like Transistors Gone Wild, Rochambeau, Rato, Hungry Hungry Models, all really, really interesting musical styles that are just totally unique for this band. And aside from a few live gigs, like, the network kind of lay dormant for a while. Some people speculated that the network album Money Money 2020 may have actually been a reworked version of Cigarettes and Valentines, the previously mentioned unreleased Green Day album. Some people thought they repurposed that music as the network record, but that's yet to be proven definitively, I believe. They just thought there were some similarities in like themes and titles of songs, etc., that may have led to that. But for the past 13 years, essentially, the network has lay pretty much dormant, with heaps of people wanting them to do another album, but that just sort of never really happening. And it just, as quickly as it came up in the Green Day fandom, it just kind of dissipated and disappeared, and the network was kind of dead. They put out that one album, they did a live album, that was sort of it for them. But now it's 2020, and the name of that album from 2003 was Money Money 2020. So suddenly in 2020, the Green Day Instagram account starts posting stuff about the network, claiming they were hacked, again, going along with this facade that they are not the network and they're not associated with them, but it is quite obvious that they are, or why else would they be marketing for the network on their own page? You know, it's all theatrical, I think. I do believe Mike Dirnt, the bassist in Green Day, did sort of softly confirm in an interview with the Rolling Stone that they were, in fact, the network. And that was really the first real acknowledgement from a band member that they were. That was in relation to Billie Joe Armstrong's breakdown live on stage in 2013, which was around the time of Green Day's trilogy of albums, Uno, Dos, and Tre, but that's sort of, let's talk about that later. Money Money 2020 Part 2, We Told You So, came out in December of 2020, this year. And after 17 years, literally, of waiting, fans of the network finally got their follow-up, and it's called We Told You So, and I've been listening to it, and I just think it is really awesome. There are so many fun tracks. There's a lot of, I think a lot of peppered irony in a lot of the network's work. I think it's half like them just trying to experiment with new styles, but half kind of trying to be sort of funny and being ironic and having some quirky lyrics and just playing into these characters and this mystery of the band a lot, which I think is really interesting. A lot of really short, punchy tracks, but this album, Money Money 2020 Part 2, is 25 tracks long. Like, it is a really long album. I think the first album from 2003 was was quite short. I don't know the running time for it, but it's quite short. But this is like a 55-minute album with 25 tracks, lots of short, punchy tracks, a couple interlude tracks. And if you look at the 3 releases from Green Day, or from at least Billie Joe Armstrong this year, being Father of All, No Fun Mondays, and Money Money 2020 Part 2, I just think this is the quirkiest, and it's very political. There are a lot of, there's songs about Elon Musk, there's songs about Netflix, there's songs about COVID-19 and quarantine and different things like that. And I just think it's very topical in its own little satirical, ironic kind of way. And I think this is just such a wonderful album. And you might turn it on and just be almost taken aback by how quirky and weird it is. You might be like, what am I listening to? But if you listen to a lot of the lyrics, listen to what they're doing, you can hear that kind of irony in it. You can hear almost like sometimes I feel like there's a smirk, in the vocals. There's a knowing smirk from whether Mike Dirnt or Billie Joe or Tre are singing on various different tracks. Like they kind of know this is a bit of fun, and they're poking fun at themselves and this style and everything, but also that it's really good music and it's really cool. I think Fentanyl is my favorite track so far. I think it's really cool. It has this kind of lo-fi punk kind of sound, and Billie Joe's vocals are really good on them. Trans Am, who Mike Dirnt takes the vocals on, is really good. Carolina's Ultimate Netflix Tweet, a really, really cool song as well. I'm really enjoying this album, and I just wanted to bring to the attention of the people of YouTube, if you don't know the network, go and listen to Money Money 2020. It is a really, really cool and wacky album. Then go and listen to this one, and appreciate the fact that you didn't have to wait 17 years in between all of this, because a lot of us did, and I was one of those people who really wished the network would do another album, because I just thought it was so cool and weird and wonderful in every single way, and I really want to spruik this from the rooftop. So go and check out the network, the Green Day side project you have likely never heard of or heard, and enjoy it, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And what's your favorite Green Day side project? Is it Foreverly? Is it No Fun Mondays, as in Billie Joe's solo project? Is it The Long Shot, the Foxborough Hot Tubs? What is it? Let me know. There's so much cool music from this band out there, and I think it's awesome. Subscribe to my channel, as I said at the top. Check out some of my other vids. I just do pop culture vids, as well as 2 podcasts that go up in full as videos on my channel. You can watch them all there. I try to do videos, every few days, and all pop culture, geek culture, nerd culture, and things like that up here. So if you like my stuff, if you like hearing me talk, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. My name's been Mike. I will catch you later. Thanks, guys.
But I went to run my hand through your hair and I noticed you were attached to string. You were a puppet this whole time, you were attached to string.